Hi, today we're here with Rob Bichefsky, who's a senior manager with GL Communications. Rob, thank you for taking the time today to speak with RCR Wireless News.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about the current status of LTE. How long has it actually taken from the time GL Communications started working on LTE products until they came to fruition in actual deployment scenarios?
Well, we started with LTE analysis back when LTE was still in the lab, pre-deployment. So with this, we were able to help in the labs. We were able to help as they developed LTE.
Mm-hmm.
Then the GL communication, the simulation solution we call our VQuad, is actually network independent. So we've had that for I don't know how many years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's worked on 3G and 4G and even back 2G. So when LTE came out, it was just a it was just a replacement that was already there, since it didn't matter about the network. So now we did make some changes to that to add a little bit more functionality and so forth, but our solution was ready for LTE, and it's actually ready for next generation right now.
You mentioned being ready to support next generation functionalities. So what about VoLTE? How has your platform expanded to support VoLTE?
Okay, so our LTE support was initially for data testing,
Mm-hmm.
like testing TCP, UDP, HTTP type connections. With the initial deployment of VoLTE, especially for network testing, in order to support voice quality analysis, we needed to connect to the mobile devices using wideband, because under VoLTE you're running as AMR wideband. So we were able to do this initially in a non-automated way, basically connecting to the headset of the phone. But we since expanded our solution so that we can connect to the phone via Bluetooth, using wideband, which will support fully automated testing. So we do right now support fully automated VoLTE testing for both voice and delay measurements.
Okay. And so as we look around the market, we see pockets of VoLTE deployment, but I wouldn't say it's really widespread at this point. So I guess sort of a two-part question. Do you feel there are still challenges that the operators face in bringing VoLTE to market, and how can vendors such as GL Communications help them with those challenges?
Okay, so obviously testing VoLTE networks is paramount to supporting a viable solution. Testing by the operator includes voice quality and delay measurements under a variety of scenarios, as well as establishing and sustaining the calls during handoffs and reverting from VoLTE back to circuit switch when leaving a VoLTE region. Again, it's testing. That's how we're helping. Testing VoLTE to VoLTE, which is AMR wideband, as I mentioned, or testing VoLTE to non-VoLTE, just as AMR. And in the future, we can expect that VoLTE wideband calls between providers, which is not currently supported, that would also require extensive testing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now let's go even further into the future and take a look at 5G. Lot of conversation on this topic, everyone's favorite topic, it seems, but thinking first of all on the opportunity side, what do you think are the main things that will drive operators to deploy 5G?
Okay, so providers want to get rid of their circuit switch networks and move to 100% VoIP, which is more manageable and more flexible and more cost efficient. Okay, so making calls to VoIP is much less expensive than making calls on a circuit switch network. The problem, the coverage is not yet there. And not all the deployed customer devices, not all the phones will support next generation. Whether it's VoLTE or obviously 5G right now, but VoLTE even, they can't even support it. So, but first we need to improve the coverage. We need to replace the aging equipment. We need to replace the phones, the customer phones. Even some of the phones out there that support LTE don't even support VoLTE. And we're going to see the same thing what happens when 5G gets deployed. The top drivers for next generation 5G, this would be cost, deployment, network connectivity. Those are the things.
Okay. And then on the flip side, what do you think will be the biggest challenges that maybe hinder the timeline for 5G deployment?
Deployment and maintaining backward compatibility with current infrastructure. Mm-hmm. As with LTE deployment, the first guy to the party always wins the first round. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now that everybody's at the party, whoever does it better and improve quality for the largest region, they'll win the second round. The key in the long run, everybody needs to play with everyone. That's what we're not seeing right now. Mm-hmm. In other words, we'll have to work together so that the mesh of 3G and VoLTE and 5G works seamless across all networks and with all devices. This would be the top challenge and a major milestone.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again for taking the time to chat with us today, and the insights were really helpful.
Thank you. Appreciate it.